Trading at Schwab is now powered by Ameritrade, unlocking the power of thinkorswim, the award-winning trading platforms loaded with features that let you dive deeper into the market. Visualize your trades in a new light on thinkorswim desktop with robust charting and analysis tools, all while you uncover new opportunities with up-to-the-minute market news and insights. thinkorswim is available on desktop, web, and mobile to meet you where you are. It's built by the trading obsessed to help you trade brilliantly. Learn more at schwab.com/trading.
Hey man, trailer dropped today. The big trailer. Actually, the trailer surprised me a little bit. You know what it was?
What was it?
It was Morbius.
What?
Yes. And so here's the thing with it that's really interesting. The thing that got me excited about this movie was not the trailer itself, because I don't know about you, but I mean, Jared Leto, I'm sure he's a very fine person, but there's something about him when he's on the screen. It's just like, there's Jared Leto. Like, what's he doing in my movie? You know, I mean,
he's the guy from 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah, I know that. And he was Joker, sort of. But anyway,
sort of. We'll say sort of. He got fired in the funniest way possible.
Well, absolutely. And it's kind of funny that Joaquin Phoenix just got nominated for the Academy Award for playing Joker, and he got another job. But however, he landed well. And what I want to do is I want to do something that occurred to me. I don't think anybody has really done. And I want to do a trailer breakdown, but I want to do a trailer breakdown from the standpoint of how they're marketing this movie. So I'm going to do a marketing breakdown of the Morbius trailer.
That's almost relevant to this podcast. I love it.
Yeah, in fact, I have an idea, man. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let us call this podcast the Morbius Trailer Marketing Breakdown Special Edition Podcast from the Marketing Geeks.
Ooh,
what do you think of that
very
name?
Cryptic. Very cryptic.
You like that?
Yes, I love it. It's really hard to know what we're talking about. I like that. Yeah.
Well, we're marketing people, man. So I was going to say gurus, but we're not. You know who we are? We're the Marketing Geeks.
Marketing Geeks.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
So we had a guest cancel tonight, and so we had some time to kill. And then when I saw this trailer, you hadn't seen it. So I immediately apped you and I said, let's just do this episode right now.
Why not?
And why not? So you saw the trailer, right?
I did. Now you told me to watch it before this, so I'm fresh. I'm fresh out of the trailer.
Okay, so
fresh out of the trailer, like Kid Rock.
If one of our 7 listeners wants to if one of our 7 listeners wants to follow along, we're leaving a link down below where you can, or just look up Sony Pictures Entertainment Morbius trailer, and we're going to go minute by minute for the 3-minute trailer and kind of break down what is relevant in how they're marketing this movie. And so when the trailer starts, the first thing you see is it says trailer in 3, 2, 1, and we have shots of like Jared Leto looking like, the first shot is him really buff. So I guess they want us to know that he's been working out.
Well, I think this is a callback. It's a callback though, because MCU movies, they always have that shot with like the hero has his shirt off. So if you go back, you got like Thor with his shirt off. You got like Ant-Man. All these guys, they have that one scene where they're trying to show off their 6-pack. And so Sony is just taking notes and they're like, okay, they have this scene in the movie. Let's put it in our trailer. So they throw it in there. That's why.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the other thing with this is that I'm gonna speak to the elephant in the room is how Sony and Marvel are, which is owned by Disney, are going to play nice with one another. And And there's some clues in here that I think that is getting people excited for that. Now, we don't know what happened between Kevin Feige and the Sony Pictures people.
Isn't it Kevin Feige, or I don't know?
Feige.
I don't know. Whatever. I know who you're talking about.
So me with names. So it was going to be very curious because now they have Venom, which is, of course, you can't have Venom without Spider-Man. But I think through this trailer, they leave us clues on how they work this thing out.
Let's take one step back and give a little bit of backstory here for those of you that are not obsessed with the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, like we are. So if you've followed this at all, you'll know that Marvel initially did not have the rights to Spider-Man. So back in the early, like the 90s, Stan Lee sold the rights to Spider-Man to Sony in an independent deal for pennies on the dollar, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which resulted in those Tobey Maguire movies and eventually the Andrew Garfield movies. Well, ultimately, once Marvel created their own studio, they wanted those rights back. And so they cut a deal with Sony, which was pretty favorable for both parties, where essentially Marvel made Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home. They made those movies for Sony. They did all the work, but Sony kept the box office in exchange for being able to use Spider-Man in the Avengers movies or in a series of, I forget, they had a deal, like how many movies they could use them in. And that deal expired. And so Sony, after they realized like, oh, wow, the MCU is really taken off, Spider-Man's kind of become an integral part of it, they had leverage. So they're like, wait, you know what? We're not going to renew that deal as it stands. And so they went back and forth. They said they weren't gonna renew the deal. They said Spider-Man was out, and then out of nowhere, they said Spider-Man's back in, but nobody knows the details of that deal. So now we're trying to piece together what that deal was that they came together on, right?
Yeah, and from the standpoint of just marketing in general, if you have a product, right? And in this case, Disney has the Marvel Studio, which is probably the most successful franchise in the history of humankind, right? So they don't want to fuck it up. They cannot. Yeah. But what also hurts the brand is if you have a competing brand that people can mistake for your brand. And every single Marvel film has the Marvel logo. And so up until recently, 20th Century Fox owned the X-Men. And then when Disney bought 20th Century Fox, they acquired that. So they're going to start putting the X-Men into the cinematic universe
and the Fantastic Four and Daredevil, I think.
And even Deadpool. And
Deadpool, yeah.
So I mean, it's a smart move on Disney's part because they don't need a competing product out there, right? Well, the competing product obviously is Sony because they still own Spider-Man, and there's no way they're going to give that up. I mean, that is, that is.
But what's funny is the only reason they're competing is because Marvel put Spider-Man back in the game. Spider-Man was had lost all its value after the second Andrew Garfield movie, Amazing Spider-Man 2. Is among the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. So they had pretty much killed off the value of that character in movies until Marvel came and resurrected him. And then now Sony's like, oh, we have leverage again. Let's use it.
Right. And so one of the things that Sony also has is a whole list of kind of sub characters, and one of them is Morbius. Now, I'm going to break down a little bit. I got to give some background into who Morbius is because there's an important part to all of this.
I don't remember anything about Morbius in the comic books except I used to collect when I was a kid because I grew up in the 90s. I used to collect the Marvel trading cards, and I remember having Morbius trading cards. I mean, not more. He was one of the cards of it was Marvel trading cards, but he was a character. I had his card.
Yeah. And he became significant kind of in the 70s. So I'm going to go back a little bit further and talk about the history of comics because, again, this all ties in together. But when comics first became big, there was a lot of room for people to create stuff that might be considered not good for society and not good for people at large. It was the 40s, it was the 50s. People were afraid of their own penises. Gay people didn't exist. It was a different time. And so in order to make sure that comics weren't hassled, there was kind of an organization that got together, and it was called the Comics Authority Association. It was a self-policing sort of thing based on some recommendations from some government officials. And what that was is that with that, and you'll see it like on Superman, it's looks like a little stamp, and it says approved by the Comics Code. You'll see it on like older comics, and the whole point with that was to kind of show that they were almost like giving themselves a place where they wouldn't go. And one of those things was like horror. You couldn't do horror comics. You couldn't make women too suggestive looking. You had to show that crime was always bad and would the bad guys always lost. They felt that comic books might lead to moral depravity. And so they started this organization, and of course the big comic book makers had to put it on there, otherwise they'd be hassled by the FBI. So Morbius was created in 1971 when they no longer would hold the comic book companies accountable any longer. They like canceled that law essentially. Like it was like giving yourself a rating, and they were just like, no, this is free speech. And so one of the first things they did was they finally were, I'm sure there was talk about this at Marvel, but they couldn't do it, is what if Spiderman battled a vampire, right? And they couldn't do that before because it was off limits. They couldn't do werewolves. They couldn't do any of that stuff. So,
man, you know a lot about Morbius. I'm impressed. I am impressed.
Dude, I am a marketing geek.
I know.
And also I can read Wikipedia. So anyway, the character kind of took on a life of its own. And the idea behind it was that there's a character who, instead of getting bitten by a vampire, what if somebody was scientifically changed, which fits into the Marvel sort of thing. So Morbius took off by himself and started his own, had a few runs of his own stuff. So he is kind of a character that fits into the Marvel universe, but he started off as Spider-Man's enemy. But do you know who Morbius's biggest enemy of all is?
The Sun?
No.
He's a vampire.
Blade. Blade, of course.
That makes sense. Well, I was just thinking, though, the Sun because he's a vampire. But yes, Blade is a vampire hunter, right?
Right. Of course. And what is one of the movies that is going to be coming out in the MCU?
Blade.
Bam!
Was it a movie or a show? I can't remember. Was that a movie or a show that they were doing?
I think they did. Yeah, they did a TV show, and then there was, of course. Oh God!
No, when they announced it at Comic-Con, is they're doing a Blade movie? Is it a movie? Okay.
Yeah, it's a movie. It's a movie. And if you have never seen the Wesley Snipes Blade films, they're surely entertaining. But if you really want to be entertained, listen to the interview that I forget his name. It was a comedian, Patton Oswalt, I think. He was in Blade Trinity, and he talks about the making of that and like what Wesley Snipes was like.
Blade Trinity was like a clusterfuck, right? I mean, because like that was they brought in Ryan Reynolds, they brought in like the wrestler Triple H, they brought in Patton Oswalt. I mean, that was just a mess just from the casting.
Yeah. Blade 2 was great. That was a Del Toro film. But anyway, I have completely digressed but it's important. Like all of this is important because Spider-Man fights, Morpheus or Morbius. Morpheus. That's a different crossover event. Anyway, but again, the reason why this is important is because if Sony is creating their own sort of Marvel universe against Disney, that's a competing product for Disney, and they don't want to be associated with bad product like they were with X-Men, because there's some people out, I don't know where, but they don't know that there's a continuity to these different things. So if they see an X-Men movie, they don't realize that it's a whole different sort of timeline.
And my hunch is that 90% of the population has no idea who Morbius even is. Like, I mean, if they see this title, they're just like, oh, it's a vampire movie. Other than like a few key references that maybe we'll talk about in a second in this trailer, you would never know that this is part of anything bigger.
Yeah. So anyway, we will now actually start playing the trailer, and because some of the things that they did is relevant to the story I just told. So here we go. The trailer begins. They do the countdown, 3, 2, 1, and then official Morbius trailer. Now this, I just want to stop that pause right there, because this is an interesting thing that a lot of movie companies have started doing. First of all, the trailer itself is called the Morbius teaser trailer. Teaser trailers are usually under a minute, but we got almost 3 minutes on this, right? So that's pretty exciting. So right there, that's a cool piece of marketing, because you expect to see maybe 3 or 4 shots of, Jared Leto and his, little makeup or whatever. But we get 3 whole minutes. So that's pretty awesome, right?
What's this trend with this? Okay, so in the front though, you have that you have like a couple scenes from the trailer in front of the trailer itself. Like all these companies now have that little trailer snippet that's like 5 seconds, 8 seconds, and a lot of them are releasing those 8 seconds the day before they release the trailer. It's like this little hype building machine. It's kind of a funny thing. They're trying to model like almost like the Steve Jobs thing, where we want to build as much hype as possible when we drop the trailer online. Of course. It's almost humorous though, but Sony is notorious. Even though you say you're happy with this long trailer, Sony is notorious for giving away their entire movies in their trailers, like
which they also did, yes. but there's
in the teaser,
no less. And please, if whoever cuts the trailers for you, Sony Pictures, like, please change your model. It's terrible. It's really awful. But they have been doing this thing with the kind of trailer before the trailer, and so they do that. And what it is it's 6 seconds, because that's the average attention span of most people. So if we don't see something explode in the first 6 seconds, we're not gonna stick around.
And now we've had that impression. I've already got that first impression. It said Morbius at the title. I saw Jared Leto for 2 seconds, and I've already got. So if I can't watch longer than 8 seconds, I've already got the whole marketing message has already been communicated to me.
Exactly. So that's pretty smart, because one of the things it's also doing is it's reinforcing everything that you're about to see.
I wonder if this is also because like they might run this as an ad, maybe. I mean. Do they run these as ads ever in front of other YouTube videos? And then if you hit skip trailer, you couldn't skip that part. You could skip after that. So maybe it's part of like their ad strategy too. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really good guess. My guess is that it's because 6 seconds. I mean, think about it. If you're scrolling on your feed, you would just see that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Very true, Andros. So I continue the trailer breakdown. I can't wait to hear your insights.
Okay, because I know they're very interesting.
Should I hit play again to follow along?
Yeah, so we're playing, and then we see Morbius is a small child. He gets beaten up, but he has like some disease. He's dying. So we're setting up the emotional build of the trailer itself, and then of course we see then the Marvel logo go by, so we know like it's Marvel.
An association, because they're not truly part. Yeah.
Right. Now that's the of course the really important part about this is that it says in association with Marvel, meaning that it's kind of taking one step back from fully associating it. So this must have been part of the agreement that happened with Spiderman. So, but that's not what our eyes are focused on. Our eyes are focused on the big word that says Marvel. So most people will miss the in association with. But of course, we want people to be excited about this. So
now we have scientist Jared Leto trying to cure his disease.
Right, we're 40 seconds into the trailer.
We get some nice exposition where he even tells us out loud, he's like, I have a rare blood disease. This could be my last chance. So even nice exposition to just explain everything in dialogue. I like that.
Right, and then of course we see him doing sciencey stuff. And so he mentions that now that there's this cure, right? So now we're 1 minute into the trailer. He pulls out a gigantic machete and he cuts it. Now, can I put a pause in this? This is like a total tangent, but when people cut themselves in a movie, why do they do it across their palm? Like where it could cause nerve damage? Like if you need a blood oath or something, like why don't you do it from someplace that maybe won't leave a bad scar? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Anyway.
I really don't. I'm kidding.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. No, it's all good though. Yeah, I get it.
Okay, so he cuts his hand, and he there's some bats that come.
Ooh, Batman.
And yeah, so that's kind of the funny thing about this. Like, okay, so you were Joker, but now you're like what, a Batman sort of do like bat stuff. I don't know. How do you tell the difference? Okay, so now we're 122 into this. We see him like start to go crazy in a cage because he's getting like his powers. And then right here, I want to stop at 130, right? Because it says in big letters, from the studio that brought you Spider-Man Homecoming. You see what they did there?
Yeah, and Spider-Man Far From Home right afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is good. This is good marketing, because this is like, when I watched this trailer the first time, this caught my attention, because that was my biggest question. Is like what is going on with this movie? Like, how does this connect? Does it connect to anything? Does it connect to the Venom movies? Does it connect to the MCU? Like, what's going on here? So from again, like, we're geeks, so we understand the whole MCU thing. If you don't get this, then you might not be following fully along here. But this is big. Right here, from a pure marketing standpoint to the target audience, that's a big statement to say, from the studio that brought you these movies, because all of a sudden, for the first time, it's really kind of bringing those in and making you feel like, oh, this is connected somehow.
Right, exactly. And so it and this trailer had to be approved by Disney. I mean, they had to have approved this if they're going to work together. And so this is also kind of interesting, because it connects to the MCU, to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then it says, from the studio that brought you Venom. Now, this is very interesting too, because Venom, his history is that he's basically an alien life form that attached himself to Spider-Man, but became eventually his own sort of entity. But
what is he really? Come on, what is Venom really? He's just the opposite of Spider-Man. And there was this whole thing in like the late 80s, early 90s, where every superhero had like the exact opposite became their enemy. So you had like Superman versus Bizarro Superman. You had like or versus like Zod would be another example of the same powers. You have we're talking about Spider-Man versus Venom. I mean, everybody, like even Shazam had like Black Adam, which is like the exact opposite character. Almost everybody has this. If you watch some of these other movies, like even like the first Iron Man, it's just another version of Iron Man he fights. If you like Ant-Man, he has like another version of Ant-Man. I mean, the Wasp or whatever, not the Wasp, but whatever this villain was in the first movie. It's a very common thing.
Yeah. Well, I did mushrooms at Burning Man once, and I had to battle myself. So I get it. I totally get it. So, but the thing that's interesting about this is that it what it does in these three things. It says, from the studio that brought you Spider-Man Far From Home and Venom, which was that movie was done by Sony, because Sony owns Venom. But having Venom without Spider-Man is kind of, you can't
it's just
really,
weird. Yeah.
Exactly. So they're trying to work around that. So they did the Venom movie, and now they're doing the Morbius movie. And but the fact that the Venom movie was done by Sony and the other two were done mostly by Disney, but they're bridging that with this, which is making me go, that's.
And I just want to add that when I saw this piqued my curiosity, but it still didn't quite like surprise me yet. So when we get a little further on, I'll talk about these surprise moments here.
Yeah. So now we're at 143. I'm into 43. We see Jared Leto, and he's been obviously working out. Now this is also an interesting little montage that they do, and this is from 145 to like 2 minutes. And what they do here is, in order for you to really understand, like, well, what is he? Is he a vampire? Is he a superhero? So in this one little section, he breaks down what his
power set
powers are. Yeah, his power set. So like,
and what is him? I don't know anything about Morbius, other than the fact that he's a vampire. But I'm watching this. He's got like energy ball or something. He's like, and then looks like Nightcrawler running on the walls, and then he has echolocation because he says it out loud. I have echolocation. Okay.
So we know, but the thing is with that, and this is a marketing choice, where what we have to do is, since we don't know this character, we have to know this character in the next 2 minutes. We have to know everything there is about him. And so part of that is letting us know, like, okay, he's a vampire and he has these powers, and it's kind of a horror movie, right? And that's key also, because the way that they're marketing this is something that's a little bit darker. And we know now that Joker and Deadpool were both rated R and did very, very well. And they were always worried about like capturing that PG-13 audience.
Yeah, I mean, to the point where a lot of rated R movies were being brought back to PG-13 because they thought they'd become unprofitable otherwise. Look at Terminator Genesis. Classic example of a movie that should have been rated R that they forced into a PG-13 because they felt that it wouldn't be marketable otherwise. Or I think actually the first time they did that was Terminator Salvation. But there's been other examples of that where the originals were rated R, the sequels were PG-13 because they wanted to capture a bigger audience. I think one of the Expendables movies did that even. And oftentimes it actually alienates some of the core fan base because they get mad about it, and then it can create issues. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that now we're entering an era where, if they want to do like a hardcore bloody Morbius movie, they could do it and probably get away with it, right?
They totally could.
Unless it's somehow connected to the MCU, and I have a feeling. And here's where things get interesting. So we're now at 2 minutes into the trailer. And now we see him actually using his power on some sort of mission, right? So this is probably the finale of the film. And now I'm going to stop here at 2:10, 2 minutes and 10 seconds, which is probably the most important 2 seconds in the entire trailer.
I bet there's probably entire YouTube videos made about this one screen capture.
That's right. And what we're seeing is Jared Leto. He has a blanket wrapped around him, like he just killed a bunch of people, and he's
maybe a prison jumpsuit, or I don't know, just an orange jumpsuit.
Yeah, he's wearing something orange. Yeah. Anyway, he's walking past a mural of Spiderman, right? Which is very important because, again, Morbius was Spider-Man's arch enemy from the start.
Yeah, and Sony has never had a reference to Spider-Man in any in the Venom movie. There was no reference to Spider-Man, and this is part of that Venom verse. We kind of thought so we weren't expecting this. This is
so spray painted across Spider-Man, it says the word murderer, which is interesting because at the end of Far From Home, Peter Parker was outed as Spider-Man. And he was accused of murdering the billionaire who was what was his name? Not Bizarro.
Mysterio.
Thank you.
Yes.
God. Woo.
Jake Gyllenhaal. He killed Jake Gyllenhaal.
He killed exactly. So this is obviously a reference to that. Right?
That's the biggest thing here is, okay, so this gives some insights into the Sony deal, the Sony Marvel deal, which makes me think, I mean, a couple of different things here. So they're definitely referencing past events happening in the Marvel universe, the MCU. So
which is owned by Disney.
So now the question becomes, well, is this directly connected, or is this like an alternate universe? And that's the question that it's in my mind anyway. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the question, that's one of the questions, but the other question is, which suit is he wearing? He's wearing the Sam Raimi suits.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So from that's a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, right? So that's actually Spider-Man from that timeline, right? Okay. So does that mean that the MCU is connected to the Spideyverse here? Well, I think that this is a marketing thing where this one little screenshot right here will get people. It's like this is the thing that's making me want to go see this movie now.
Yeah, not because of the movie, but because of the the curiosity it creates.
Right.
Because I can care. Honestly, this movie does nothing for me. I have no desire to see this movie for Morbius. I will tell you that.
No. But if you knew that it was somehow connected to the MCU on some small level, you'll go see that movie, right?
I'll see this one, and then there's a good chance I never see another Sony movie that's not directly connected. but I'll see this one.
And they know that because again, this goes back to a marketing thing, right? Where what Disney and Sony don't want to do is they don't want to go head to head with each other, where people realize, oh, okay, this is part of that superhero Marvel universe. That one sucks. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what started happening with X-Men. I mean,
they're definitely blurring the line here. They're blurring the line.
Yeah, but I think again, this is part of the agreement, and I think I cracked the code. So we're directly after that shot. We see kind of quick shots of other characters. One guy has like a robot arm, which is kind of interesting.
I didn't even catch that. There's a robot arm guy in there. Okay.
Yeah. And then the very last part of this, like maybe the last 30 seconds, is pure horror. It turns into a pure like horror movie, which people might find interesting because it's kind of like this really freaky, scary vampire. Does that mean that the movie is going to be rated R? Well, that would be cool, right? So it's at least planting the idea into people's minds that they are receptive to seeing this movie.
Yep.
Right. So again, from a marketing standpoint, I think that was a brilliant move. Like whoever cut this trailer, I got to hand it to you. You did a great job. Even though for the most part, it gives away the movie. I just want to reference what I said, not be a hypocrite, but at the top of the show, like great, but also a
little too much info. Yeah.
You gotta talk to whoever checks.
And then at around 2:28, you see his in character face where he's actually the Morbius character. You get like a little glimpse of him, like with the blue skin and like the teeth and the red eyes, and kind of interesting. Looks okay.
Yeah. Then we have the title right now. At the second most interesting thing in this entire trailer happens at 2:38. 2 minutes and 38 seconds. And you see him walking towards an ambulance, and there is Michael Keaton. And Michael Keaton looks at him and he goes, "Hey, what's up, Doc?" Now, again, for those of you who aren't like completely in the MCU like we are, or at least I am, I hate to admit it, but I it's kind of like Taylor Swift. I hate admitting I actually like her music.
It's so embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing. You know what? I can't help it. She's actually pretty talented. But Michael Keaton was the bad guy in the Spider-Man Homecoming movie. He played part of the
Vulture. The Vulture.
Yeah. And at the end of that movie, they teased the Sinister Six.
Because he's still alive. They don't kill him. He's in prison at the end of that movie, but he's alive.
Right. Yeah. And he talks to some other guy who's like I forget. And then I think at the end of Venom, they introduced Carnage, right?
Yeah, at the end of they introduced Carnage, played by Woody Harrelson. Yes, that's right.
Right. Okay, so we know the Sinister Six is going to get together at some point, right? Yep. And having Michael Keaton, now we don't know if Michael Keaton is playing his Vulture character. They may have just gotten Michael Keaton in that one shot.
Maybe he's playing Bruce Wayne, because he was Batman, Jared Leto was Joker. Maybe there's a miscommunication there, different,
That would be awesome. And maybe that's it too. Maybe it's just like, oh, there's Batman and there's Joker. Haha, isn't that funny? Right? So, but the fact that they put that shot in there, again, gives everyone hope that like, oh shit, there's going to be a crossover event.
I'll tell you what my thoughts are. My thoughts are this is the Vulture character right here. I think Sony leveraged themselves very well in their deal with Marvel, but this is what I think is happening. I think they have the rights to basically reference any event from the MCU. They can play off of it. They can use any characters that come from their movies. Like he came from a Spider-Man movie, so they can use him. But I think Marvel will never reference any events from these movies in their MCU movies. So I think they're just going to ignore everything that happens here. They're going to let Sony do whatever they want to do. and then they're going to do what they want to do and ignore it, and they're just going to kind of ignore each other as far as storylines go. That's my thought process. It's almost like an alternate universe, not necessarily an alternate universe, but it's they're none of this will ever be referenced in a true MCU movie. That's my theory.
Okay, I'm going to blow your geek mind.
I'm ready.
If Sony does what I'm about to tell you, not only will it be a stroke of genius for them, but it would be an agreement that would make every single person happy, including the fans.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Did you see Into the Spideyverse?
I did. I liked Into the Spideyverse.
Yeah, and it was very, very successful. Everybody liked it.
And Sony put that one out there. That's the best Sony movie that they've ever done by themselves.
It was very well received. I think it won an Oscar for.
Who did that one? Was that the Lego guys that did that one, or who did? I can't remember.
I forget, but they're doing a sequel anyway. There is talk about doing a live action Into the Spideyverse, right? So something happens in the MCU timeline. It could be just a throwaway scene where Doctor Strange opens up a portal and tells Peter Parker, "You can go into this realm, but people won't know that you're Spider-Man. Like, you haven't been outed in this timeline. But there's things that you can't expect." Right? So they could have Tom Holland go into the Sony Pictures universe with an easy transition, starting with an Into a Spideyverse crossover event, having Tobey Maguire, Andrew McCartney, and they hire a new kid for Miles Morales. And
Andrew McCartney? You mean Andrew Garfield? Andrew Garfield.
God. My kryptonite is names, man. It's like,
I like that though. Andrew McCartney. Yeah, close. Garfield, McCartney, almost the same thing.
Garfield and McCartney.
One was a Beatle, one was a president. One was a.
So anyway, what I think is going to happen is they're going to do a Sinister Six movie. All roads are pointing to that, and I think that it's actually going to be that Marvel will stay kind of self-contained. But I think you're right. I think that the Sony verse will have kind of a doorway, if you will, and things could drop through it. Right? They can set that up as a contingency.
Yes, and I can totally buy that. And that actually, I think that's a win-win for everybody if they do that, because they need to treat this as an alternate universe, and for the MCU to acknowledge it, it would make it a lot better than just like pretending like it doesn't exist. I think you're right. I think it's a lot. I think that would make everybody happy. Yeah. Yeah.
So it would be a win-win. So in that sense, who's to say that at some point Venom will fall into the MCU?
Because I have nothing. I would love Tom Hardy to play Venom in the MCU, but I want him to be directed by a competent, director and have a competent writing staff behind that, and not have the Sony hacks over there putting together their crap.
Right. So Sony could say, "Okay, Disney, we'll do this deal again where we'll lend you these two characters. You do everything, and we'll collect half the paycheck. But everybody's going to make $1 billion.
Yeah.
Right.
I like it. I like it, Andros. I think it makes sense. I hope that's what they're doing. I agree with you on Sinister Six 100%. I'm not 100% convinced they're doing the Spider-Verse multiple universe thing, but I'm 100% convinced they're doing the Sinister Six, and at least on Sony's side. But so the question is, then you have like Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse. That's the name of the title. So is that where this whole thing starts? Maybe
that's what I believe. I believe that there's going to be this thing, and it doesn't. If they just, they don't even have to fully acknowledge the events. They just have to come out and kind of shake hands, like open a doorway between these two universes. Now you don't have a competing product anymore.
Yeah,
you have two timelines. They're not competing against each other.
I mean, you might be like, I don't want to travel between the universes because this universe is shit and this one's awesome. So like, I can understand why the characters wouldn't want to hop back and forth, but
that's how I feel every time I read the news.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, but it was interesting to me that the way that they put this together was to lead us to believe at least this is a possibility. Which for the hardcore fans like myself, you can just hear by the way I'm talking about it. This is really like, wow, that would be awesome if we can have that.
You know what I like the most about this whole thing is that we spent almost 40 minutes breaking down like a 3-minute trailer. I love that.
I love that too. I don't know if our 7 listeners love it, but you know what? I did this episode was for me.
This is a bonus episode. This is for the hyper geeks. I'll even put like a disclaimer, geeks only, maybe in front.
Good idea. Good idea. So anyway, we'll be back with our regularly scheduled program
this Friday.
Friday?
Yeah,
oh yeah, dropping new. Who do we have?
We have we finally have the interview with Philip Stutz, the political marketer, where Andros goes head to head with a Republican political marketer that's worked on 2 Republican presidential campaigns.
Oh man, it went down. We were disrapping each other and everything. He said my flow was bogus. I was like, no way, man. That's what happened.
It was a good conversation though. It's legitimately a great. I mean, that guy has his fingers on the pulse of like the most advanced marketing strategies. I mean, some of that stuff will blow your mind, like what they're doing. Yeah. I mean, this is real.
It was a little scary.
One thing I want to mention is so we watched the movie The Great Hack, which is the movie about Cambridge Analytica, the Facebook scandal, election, all that. There's I saw on YouTube, there's a guy, a fellow podcaster / YouTuber. His name is Patrick Bet-David. He runs he runs a company, and actually they have an office in Ventura. So I actually met him at one point, very, very briefly. But they had Brittany Kaiser, who's the main whistleblower featured in the Great Hack movie. He interviewed her for an hour and 40 minutes on a YouTube video. I watched the entire thing. Some interesting stuff. I was kind of fascinated. And so I'd be really curious in a follow-up conversation, because Philip Stutz did say he would come back on the show after impeachment to talk more about the election and all that. I'd be interested to ask him more about this, because he kind of dismissed the Cambridge Analytica thing, and I'm curious if there's more to it or not, or like what his response would be to some of the things in that. So
yeah, and we definitely have to have him back on the show, because he was.
It's fascinating stuff. I love learning about what they're doing in political marketing, and plus he runs a digital marketing agency for businesses too. So it's not just political marketing. He also does it for business, but it's like from the geofencing stuff to the remember you were talking about like getting data from Hulu and all these different companies. So if you could find out exactly who watched like an attack interview, or a segment that attacked like a candidate, and then they could target only the people that watched that, and then. Oh
yeah, it's like crazy. You don't realize how much you're being manipulated, but listen to this interview. It was very, very eye-opening, and we'll definitely have him on again. Do you feel complete, sir?
Oh, I felt complete like 30 minutes ago. As far as I'm kidding. No, I mean, here's my take. I have, if it wasn't for the obscure MCU connection to this movie Morbius, I have no interest in seeing this movie. I don't think Jared Leto's that great of an actor. I mean, I think he can. No. He's got more range than a guy like Keanu Reeves, but I feel like Keanu Reeves somehow still makes me want to watch him on screen more. I don't know. It's funny how that kind of happens. I think Jared Leto's a better actor, but he's not like a guy that draws me in to want to watch him. So I don't know what that's all about, but that's just like my experience.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Are you interested now in seeing this movie? I'm
interested in seeing it, yes. And especially because I have that Regal Unlimited pass, I think it warrants, one of my free movie viewings.
Okay. So did the marketing guys do their job here?
Yes. The marketing guys definitely did their job, because if it wasn't for those references, the trailer, if you took those out of the trailer, I'd be totally out. Maybe I watch this on Netflix like 5 years from now, but I'd be totally out. But because of that, right, I will see it. Yes.
Okay. Well, there you go. Marketing success. Bing. So right on. And we will see you guys next episode. So have a great.
Wait, have you seen Star Wars yet, Andros? Have you seen Star Wars yet before we finish?
No, man.
Why not?
It's like.
Are you scared?
Did you hear? No, did you hear what I just did there?
Yes, I heard it. Your sigh.
Okay, could you see like my body, like what it did?
I felt it. I felt your body just shrug and sink. I felt it sinking into your chair.
So every time I think about seeing Star Wars, I do that.
Oh, that's sad.
I know.
I think it's time you face your fears and you do it. And you make, and then you either decide that Star Wars is completely 100% dead to you, or you're like, you know what? This wasn't as bad as I thought, but I think it's time to make that.
No. This is like, Star Wars is dead to me. This is like poking the corpse with a stick, like just to see what happens. Like that's all this is it's like, fighting a dead lizard and then like frying it with a magnifying glass. Well, that was oddly specific, wasn't it?
Yes. But I think it's time to do it. I think it's time to fry the lizard, Andros. It's time to fry the lizard.
Oh, geez. All right. I'll give you a full report next time.
And with that, stay classy.